The moment everything crumbled, I wake up to the sharp buzz of my phone. It's 3:07 a.m. My apartment is dark, silent, almost empty. There's a single light blinking on my screen, an email notification. My heart pounds before I even read the subject line. When I open it, the words hit me like a sledgehammer. Eviction notice. I scroll down to see my bank balance, $37. $37 to my name, and no idea how I'll pay rent next week. My breathing quickens. My entire life feels like it's unraveling in seconds. I sit up in bed, legs dangling over the mattress, mind spinning through every possibility. Do I call my parents? Should I ask friends for help? How do I explain this to anyone without feeling like a complete failure? I feel a cold sweat on my forehead as I replay the last 6 months in my head, the late nights, the endless job applications, the hope that each new interview would beat the one. None of it worked. I stand and step into the dim kitchen. The tile is cold under my bare feet. I open the fridge, nothing but half a lemon and a nearly empty water bottle. I open the cabinets, 2 cans of old beans. My stomach knots. The eviction notice is real. The reality is this: if I can't scrape together rent, I'll lose this place in 7 days. Then what? I've never been homeless before. I've never even worried about a lease. A single tear rolls down my cheek. The clock on the microwave reads 3:10 a.m. I've got to think fast. I pace to the window and look out over the empty street below. No cars, no people, just the hum of distant traffic. I whisper to myself, this can't be happening. But it is. In that moment, I realize something. This isn't just a bad week. It's a turning point. I either find a way to climb out of this hole, or I let this moment become the story of my life. My hands ball into fists as I resolve to fight. I don't know how yet, but I know one thing. I refuse to let my story end here. All 6 months ago, my life looked entirely different. I was the store manager at a thriving startup, making good money in a downtown apartment with big windows and a view of the skyline. I had friends, a fun social life, and enough savings that I felt secure, almost invincible. Every morning, I'd wake up to the sun streaming through my blinds, grab a coffee at the corner cafe, and head to an open-plan office buzzing with energy. My team looked up to me. I had input on major decisions, a comfortable salary, and plans for the future, promotions, side hustles, a long-term lease here. I remember the feeling of confidence in my shoes as I walked to work. I believed I could handle anything. My career was on track. I was respected, I was busy, and I was happy until that layoff email came. The email that projected a 15% salary cut across the company budget. My position was deemed redundant. I stared at that email on my phone, sitting at my desk, and for the first time, I felt dizzy. I called my best friend that night. I remember pacing on the roof deck of my apartment, twilight painting the sky pink and purple. I said, I'm going back into the job market. I'll land something. I always do. But inside, my confidence was cracking. I had never failed this hard before. When reality hit after the layoff, I spent 2 weeks in denial. I told myself I'd bounce back immediately. I applied to dozens of jobs, mostly remote roles or positions similar to my old one. Each morning, I'd check my inbox with hope. Each afternoon, I'd see rejections or complete silence. The job boards felt like an echo chamber of disappointment. The eviction notice arrived 2 weeks after my savings ran dry. I opened it in the mailroom of my building, and my knees buckled. My mind flashed to the rent check I didn't have. The letter outlined a week to pay or face the lockout. My palms turned clammy. I nearly dropped the envelope as I stumbled back into my apartment. I sank into my couch, that familiar hollow feeling creeping in. Everything I'd worked for, it was slipping away. My apartment, my independence, my dignity. The next morning, I tried to call my landlord, stammering through excuses. He cut me off. I need rent on the 1st, or you'll have to vacate. That was it. No mercy. No negotiation. I felt dizzy. I stared at the lease on my coffee table and realized I had just 7 days to find $1,200. I laid on my back, staring at the ceiling, and asked myself, how did I get here? The room felt smaller, the walls constricting. My old confidence felt like a lie. Days of paralyzing doubt. The next morning, I forced myself out of bed. I had to face it. I walked to the nearest cafe, ordered the cheapest black coffee, $2.15. I sat with my laptop, pulling up my bank app, $37. I sat and stared at that number for what felt like hours. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. Should I call my parents? Ask them to wire me money? I swallowed, thinking of their disappointment if I admitted defeat. I opened a fresh Google Doc and listed every possible option. Borrow from friends or family, risk, pride, uncertain response. Pawn possessions, my laptop, my guitar, my watch. Apply for temp work, construction, food service. Gig economy, Uber, DoorDash. Seek charity or social services, humiliation, paperwork. My heart pounded as I realized each option came with a steep cost. If I asked parents, I'd feel shame. If I pawned my stuff, I'd lose the tools that might help me rebuild. If I took temp work, I might make a few bucks, but not enough for rent. It felt like every path led to compromise or humiliation. That night, back in my dark apartment, I couldn't sleep. My mind reeled through scenarios. I imagined packing up my things in trash bags, wandering couch to couch at friends' places. I pictured sleeping on the subway bench. The level of fear that washed over me was overwhelming: fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of losing everything. In the early hours, I forced myself to sit at my desk. I pulled up job postings again. This time, I filtered for anything paying at least $15 an hour, remote or local. I found one, an online customer support role for a small e-commerce company, $16 per hour, part-time. Not glamorous, but it was something. I clicked apply, attaching a resume I hadn't updated in months. My finger trembled as I hit send. The next day, I walked the bleak gray streets of the city, feeling each step like dragging a weight. I searched for anything: brochure distribution, flyer posting, warehouse labor. Everywhere I went, I saw help wanted signs, but with each interview, I left feeling more defeated. You could see it in the way hiring managers scrunched their faces at my shaky resume, the hesitation in their eyes. Still, I refused to give up. I took an extra shift at a coffee shop washing dishes for $12 an hour. I picked up Uber Eats deliveries at night, earning maybe $20 after 2 hours. Every single dollar I made, I saved. I ate ramen 3 times a day. I skipped the gym membership. I canceled streaming subscriptions. My life had become a laser focus on survival. Work, save, apply, repeat. But the eviction deadline loomed like a guillotine. Each morning I woke up with the sinking dread that today might be the day I couldn't pay. I felt my mind fray, anxiety attacks in the shower, shaky hands around my coffee cup, weird dreams where I was back in that empty apartment with no way out. I was terrified I wouldn't make it. The unexpected offer on day 5, I woke up to a text from Lisa, an old colleague I hadn't spoken to in months. "Hey, I saw your LinkedIn update. How are things?" I hesitated but typed a short reply. "Not great. Lost my job. Struggling to keep up rent. Just trying to survive." Within hours, I got a call from her. Her voice was calm but urgent. "My company just opened a new department. They need someone with your background, operations and customer relations. It's entry-level pay, but it's a salary. You'll be reporting to me. You'd have to start immediately. Are you available?" My hand shook as I replied, "Yes, I can start tomorrow." I fumbled to ask more details, salary, schedule, but she said, "Details later. Just be at the office at 9 a.m. And she hung up. I stared at my phone for a moment, disbelief and relief flooding me equally. I dropped onto the couch and took a shaky breath. This call was like a bolt of lightning in a dark sky. But doubts crept in. Entry-level salary in a new department. Would it cover rent? Could I prove myself fast enough to get a raise or a stipend? The stakes were astronomically high. If I didn't secure a stable income this week, I'd be out on the street. That night, I barely slept. I stayed up Googling anything I could about the company, its culture, its leadership, its recent performance. I printed a copy of my resume, ironed a shirt that looked halfway decent, and rehearsed answers to standard interview questions. I practiced introducing myself, name, background, why I'm passionate about joining their team. At 7 a.m. the next morning, I walked into the office building, an unremarkable gray tower downtown. My heart was pounding through my chest. I took a deep breath, reminded myself, this is my lifeline. I stepped into the elevator, pressed 14, and tried to steady my breathing. I entered a small conference room. Lisa stood there, greeting me with a warm smile. "Good to see you," she said. Her presence grounded me a bit. She introduced me to their HR manager and a mid-level operations lead. They asked questions about my experience, my skills, my work ethic. I answered honestly, focusing on how my past roles taught me resilience, adaptability, and problem-solving under pressure. I talked about the small startup days, juggling tight budgets and crazy deadlines, exactly the grit they needed in this new department. They asked, "Your start date? Can you begin Monday?" I nodded, voice steady. "Absolutely." They went over onboarding paperwork, benefits, salary, probation period. The salary was $2,400 per month. It won't cover rent on its own, but with my side gigs I could scrape together enough to meet my immediate obligations. It felt like catching a rope thrown into a chasm. I walked out of that office feeling both relieved and terrified. I had a job again, but the pressure to perform was immense. The stakes were, make enough in 2 weeks to cover my back rent, prove my value quickly, and secure my position for the long term. I was determined not to let this chance slip away. The nail-biting first weeks the first morning on the job, I arrived at 8:45 a.m. I took a deep breath and stepped through the glass doors. My desk was set up in a small cubicle inside a room bustling with about a dozen coworkers. I introduced myself to everyone while my nerves did flips. My role was to support the operations lead in setting up their e-commerce platform, answering customer emails, tracking inventory updates, and coordinating with the fulfillment team. Nothing glamorous, but it was steady pay, benefits, and a potential path forward. By lunchtime, I realized how much I had to learn. The CRM system was new to me. Spreadsheets flew by like hieroglyphics. I felt the old familiar knot in my stomach, imposter syndrome. I kept thinking, they're going to see I don't know what I'm doing, and I'll be fired. But I forced myself to ask questions, lots of questions, without shame. I took notes furiously, mapping out every process they showed me. After work, I headed to my shift at the coffee shop. From 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., I washed dishes for Pennies. My legs ached, my back was sore, but I told myself, every plate I scrub pays rent. At midnight, I piled into my car for my Uber Eats shift. The city was quiet, streetlights flickered. Each delivery made me feel simultaneously alive and exhausted. By the time I got home at 2 a.m., my brain was buzzing. The next morning, I woke up before sunrise. I sat at my kitchen table, reviewing notes from my new job. I tried to organize my day. Work from 9 to 5, coffee shop from 6 to 9, Uber Eats from 10 to 12. Then sleep. Wake up. Repeat. Every dollar counted. On day 3, I hit my first major snag. A major customer complaint had escalated. The fulfillment team messed up an order, and the customer was furious, demanding a full refund and compensation. The operations lead asked me to handle it. My heart thudded. I wrote and rewrote an email more than 10 times, pacing my cubicle, trying to find the right words to calm them down while protecting the company's interests. Finally, I hit send. I held my breath. 10 minutes later, a reply. "Thank you for taking this seriously. Please process the refund, and I appreciate your responsiveness." My shoulders relaxed. It was just one small victory, but it felt huge. I realized that my crisis-honed focus meant I could stay calm under pressure. By the end of that week, I had logged over 60 hours at the office, 15 hours washing dishes, and 10 hours delivering food. I tallied my earnings, base salary prorated for the week, plus $180 from the coffee shop, $150 from Uber Eats. Combined, I had $650, enough to cover half my rent. My heart soared. I called the landlord's office and paid what I could, explaining that the balance would be paid on Friday. He agreed to the arrangement but made it clear, no more delays. That weekend, I focused on learning every process at work. I watched online tutorials, reached out to colleagues after hours for clarification, and stayed late every evening. My flat was now furnished with notes scribbled on index cards stuck to the walls, customer codes, email templates, inventory SKUs. I felt a fierce determination. I would become indispensable. By week 2, things got even more intense. A system outage crashed our ordering platform for an entire afternoon. I was tasked with manually updating dozens of backlogged orders in the CRM. My eyes burned from staring at the screen for hours. But I didn't stop. I told myself, this is your chance to prove you belong here. When I finished, the operations lead patted me on the back. I don't know how we'd have gotten through this without you. That moment felt like sunrise after the darkest night. I realized that my adversity gave me an edge. I wasn't afraid of grinding, of working long hours, of facing uncertainty. Every challenge at work felt manageable compared to the fear of losing my home. By the end of week 2, I had accumulated $1,150 between rent contribution and part-time gigs, just enough to fully cover my eviction balance. I exhaled a breath I didn't know I was holding. But the stakes remained high. I was still on probation at work, still navigating a rigorous learning curve, and still living with the fear that one mistake could undo all my progress. I chose not to let that fear paralyze me. Instead, I turned it into fuel. Each morning I would stand at my bathroom mirror and say, I will succeed. I will be more than my worst moment. My new beginning. By the end of month 1, I had proven my reliability. My manager offered me a permanent position with a slight pay increase. It still wasn't stardom, but it was stability, benefits, a regular paycheck, and a desk I could call mine. I moved into a slightly cheaper apartment, small, but safe. I felt a wave of relief wash over me. I wasn't living day to day in terror anymore. That sense of security allowed me to think beyond survival. I started planning how to rebuild my savings. I reallocated my time. Instead of washing dishes and delivering food every night, I could now focus on honing skills that mattered for my career. On weekends, I enrolled in a free online digital marketing course, thinking ahead to ways I could add value at work and expand my skill set. I also began to reconnect with family. I called my parents one evening, voice cracking slightly as I said, I'm okay now. I found a job, a new apartment. It's been rough, but I'm getting there. They listened, offered words of support, and I realized how much I had missed that sense of connection. Pride had kept me from seeking help earlier, but now I understood that admitting vulnerability didn't make me weak, it made me human. At work, I tackled new projects, streamlining the customer support workflow, automating recurring tasks with simple macros, and suggesting small but meaningful changes to our inventory tracking. My boss noticed and assigned me to train a new hire, my first leadership opportunity. When I guided that new teammate through the same onboarding challenges I'd faced, she looked at me with gratitude. In that moment, I felt a shift. I wasn't just surviving. I was healing, growing, becoming someone who could help others overcome their struggles too. I started a daily journal, writing down 3 things I was grateful for every morning: a roof over my head, a steady job, and the small victories, like finishing a course module or receiving positive feedback from a colleague. These entries reminded me how far I'd come. Small wins, big impact. Month 2 arrived, and I could feel momentum building. I tackled a side project at work to create a monthly performance dashboard for executives, charts showing customer response times, order fulfillment rates, and revenue trends. I taught myself basic spreadsheet formulas and data visualization techniques. When I presented the first dashboard, leadership was impressed and asked me to refine it for quarterly strategy meetings. That translated into a modest bonus at the end of the quarter, bonus money I dedicated entirely to rebuilding my emergency fund. Meanwhile, my confidence soared. I began networking within the company, attending virtual meetups, and volunteering for cross-functional initiatives. I pitched an idea to the marketing team, a series of short customer success videos featuring real testimonials. My manager approved it, and I collaborated with colleagues in filming and editing. The final videos went live on social media and generated positive engagement. It felt surreal that I, once on the verge of homelessness, was now contributing creative ideas that moved the needle for the company's brand. At home, I gradually replaced the ramen and instant noodles with groceries, eggs, vegetables, lean proteins. I started cooking simple meals and noticed that a better diet gave me more energy. I joined a free local gym membership offered by my employer and slowly regained physical strength. Each morning, I jogged 3 miles, listening to podcasts on personal development. My mind began to shift from just surviving to what else can I achieve. I reconnected with friends who had supported me, those who lent a hand or offered a listening ear during my darkest days. We met for coffee on weekends, and I told them about my growth. Their encouragement meant everything. Their belief in me gave me hope for more ambitious goals. In month 3, I set a new target: to save 3 months' worth of living expenses. I took on freelance writing gigs for tech blogs, earning an extra $300 per month. I decluttered my apartment and sold in used items, camera equipment, old textbooks, clothes. The extra $400 went straight into my savings account.
Until the
Week by
CEO
week,
heard her speak
the
Mandarin,
balance grew.
Spanish, and
I could
French
almost
like a
taste
native.
freedom again. Professionally, I volunteered to mentor and intern. I created onboarding materials, held weekly check-ins, and shared lessons I learned about resilience. Watching that in turn gain confidence and attributing some of that to my guidance filled me with pride and reminded me that adversity had taught me empathy. Small wins continued to stack. Completing that digital marketing course led to my inclusion in a pilot project to revamp the company's email campaigns. I pitched a new subject line strategy that increased open rates by 12%. Once again, leadership took notice. I found myself in meetings with senior managers, speaking confidently about data and strategy. It felt like stepping into a new identity, someone not defined by past failures, but by proven results. By month 4, my emergency fund equaled 2 months' rent. The anxiety that once kept me awake at night had started to fade. Whenever doubt crept in, I'd pause, recall the nights I worked dishwashing and deliveries, and realize, if I made it through that, I can handle this. Something clicked. I realized my journey through adversity had given me unique insights into vulnerability, perseverance, and adaptation. I started a personal blog, writing about my experiences raw, unfiltered. I shared every detail, the fear of eviction, the low-paying gigs, the relentless grind at the new job, and the small triumphs that kept me moving forward. I published my first post, $37 to my name. How near ruination became my greatest teacher. It was part confession, part guide. I outlined the exact steps I took: market research for the job, budgeting tips, mindset shifts, daily gratitude practice. I was nervous to hit publish, worried that no one would read or care. Within 48 hours, the post got over 1,500 views. People started leaving comments. "Thank you for being so honest. This gave me hope." I was about to give up on my dreams. Reading your story reminded me to keep going. I felt a wave of validation I'd never experienced before. The blog traffic surged, and I began receiving emails from strangers sharing their own adversity stories: job loss, bankruptcy, health struggles. They thanked me for illuminating a path out of darkness. That realization struck me. What started as a personal comeback could now become a beacon for others. At work, my growing visibility led to a promotion. I became assistant operations manager. My responsibilities expanded. I led a small team, optimized workflows, and co-owned strategic initiatives. My salary increased enough that saving 3 months' expenses was no longer a stretch. I was planning next steps, speaking engagements, consulting with small entrepreneurs on crisis management, maybe even writing a book. As I reflected on this journey, I recognized that adversity had sculpted my purpose. I no longer saw hardship as a setback, but as a catalyst for growth. Each obstacle, eviction notice, job rejection, exhaustion from multiple gigs, had forced me to build resilience, sharpen creativity, and deepen empathy. I began volunteering at a local nonprofit that offered job training to people experiencing homelessness. I led workshops on crafting resumes, interviewing under pressure, and managing finances on a shoestring budget. Watching participants' eyes light up as they realized they had options, even with $0 in their pockets, reminded me of my own darkest dawn. Secrets to unshakable resilience. Now, as I sit and record this, I'm reminded that the person I was at 3:07 a.m., clutching that eviction notice, is not the person I am today. I want to share the key lessons I learned, principles that anyone facing hardship can use to break free and rebuild. 1. Embrace radical honesty. Admit the full scope of your situation. The moment I acknowledged that I only had $37 and zero guarantees, I could strategize realistically. Denial only delays action. Face the facts, however painful, so you can respond effectively. 2. Define your stakes clearly. Knowing exactly what you'll lose if you fail motivates action. For me, it was losing my home. That clarity created the urgency I needed to push beyond comfort zones, applying for every job, taking on side gigs, and grinding late nights. 3. Build micro-steps. Stepping stones break down survival and recovery into tiny, manageable tasks. Instead of thinking, I need to earn $1,200, I focused on make 10 deliveries tonight or wash dishes for 3 hours tomorrow. Those small wins built momentum. 4. Leverage every available resource. I tapped friends, online tutorials, free community resources, and family connections. Don't overlook free training programs, local nonprofits, or networking opportunities. Help is often closer than you think. 5. Develop relentless grit. Resilience is like a muscle. It grows the more you use it. Facing rejection, disappointment, and exhaustion repeatedly taught me to push through discomfort. Cultivate a mindset that welcomes challenges as chances to strengthen your resolve. 6. Turn vulnerability into strength. Sharing my struggles on my blog and with friends didn't weaken me. It connected me to others and opened unexpected doors. Vulnerability fosters authenticity, which builds trust and generates new opportunities. 7. Prioritize self-care under stress. Even when days were consumed by side gigs and work, I insisted on small routines, morning gratitude journaling, 30-minute jogs, simple home-cooked meals. These practices kept my mind and body in fighting shape. 8. Pay it forward. Once I had stability, mentoring others not only helped them but reinforced my own growth. Teaching solidifies your learning, and helping others cultivates purpose beyond personal achievement. 9. Cultivate a growth mindset. Instead of seeing obstacles as failures, view them as experiments. The system outage at work was a disaster until I used it to showcase my problem-solving skills. Reframe setbacks as data points that guide you toward better solutions. 10. Celebrate small wins relentlessly. Every dollar saved, every new skill learned, every positive email reply celebrated. Those micro-victories fuel motivation and build a sense of progress even when the road ahead seems long. As you watch this video and consider your own challenges, whether financial, health-related, or personal, remember, your lowest moment does not define you. It can be the catalyst that propels you toward a stronger, more purposeful self. Conclusion: I hope my story shows you that even in your darkest hour, there is a path forward. It won't be easy. You'll face sleepless nights, crushing doubt, and moments when giving up seems logical. But if you can embrace radical honesty, define clear stakes, break your journey into stepping stones, and nurture resilience, you can transform adversity into opportunity. If you're standing at your own 3 a.m. moment, know you're not alone. The storm you face can be the forge that shapes you into someone more capable, empathetic, and unbreakable. Keep moving forward, one step, one small victory, one lesson at a time. Your tomorrow can be brighter than you imagine. Thank you for listening to my story. If you found value in this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Let me know in the comments, what's your biggest challenge right now, and how will you take your first stepping stone toward overcoming it? Stay strong, stay vulnerable, and above all, keep believing in your ability to rise from the ashes. Your comeback story is waiting to be written.